Tennessee blues, it happens every night. And I ain't never met a riverboat dealer that could ever be a friend of mine.
I have not.
Summer heat never treats me kind, it leaves trouble on my mind. So I'm bidding farewell, putting in my notice, and I'll see you at another time. This highway does not know my name, and I don't care.
Nope. I don't care.
Headed my way for another place, and I got 3 good tires and a spare. Just a white line gypsy getting out of Mississippi with just enough gas to get there.
Low budget live, not so stinking live. Not from the Low Budget Live Bar and Grill this week for Monday, June the 20th. We are at the Xpress Boats Bar and Grill. I have taken over Hot Springs, Arkansas. I am renaming this lovely place where I'm sitting the Xpress Boats Bar and Grill, and it is closer to a bar and grill than the actual Low Budget Live Bar and Grill. There's a very nice grill set up right out here. There's a stove between me and the camera right now. So I mean, you could do some cooking and some drinking at this bar and grill. At my bar and grill, there's a sink, you can wash your hands, and you can drink. That's the Low Budget Live Bar and Grill. They're just pulling back the curtain a little bit. But in Hot Springs, Arkansas, show is obviously a little different this week, but a good one, a fun one. I'm looking forward to. You notice I ran off and left my freaking bottle of Startron, so I'm shaking the old Baywater up a little bit there to kick off the show. In Hot Springs, I mentioned this last week, you bunch of low-lifers, and got to meet some low-lifers at the event I'm out here for, the Arkansas Game and Fish Foundation Commissioner's Cup. It's a high school event, a no-entry fee high school event where they're going to pay out $3,000 in scholarships to first place, $2,000, and then $1,000. It's a really cool deal. I went to the registration last night, got to meet a lot of the kids, a lot of the boat captains, and it's very inspiring to see that many young anglers. And I got to speak at the meeting about fish care, which y'all know I'm passionate about, and got to, try to educate them and try to bring some points home. It's like Gerald Twindle and I talked about on the podcast a couple weeks ago. That's on us. That's on us as people in the sport that are experienced, that have been around. We got to share that message of taking care of these lakes. And man, these kids, they're so fired up about the sport. It's fun. So in Hot Springs for that, Xpress has put me up in an amazing lake house. I've done everything from fish off the bank to play guitar really loud because I'm out here by myself. I've had a great time, been writing some songs, been playing music, and I've even been down the water slide on a swimming pool. So this has been an excellent couple days. Kind of, going into, I'm recording this early, a couple days before Father's Day. And it's been nice, man. I'm missing the kiddos, missing the family. I'll be back this evening after the weigh-in takes place for the Arkansas Fishing Game. But, man, it's been a good, kind of recharging of the batteries. I've had a cool week. I've traveled for TH up in, the Mountain Home, Arkansas area, doing some boat park slinging, taking care of some things up there. And, man, I post on social media. I was driving one evening, had a few hours after work to kill, and there's a little stream, river, creek, whatever you want to call it, that I've driven over for years and years and years and years. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go see if there ain't smallmouth in there. And I had some rods with me and some tackles. So crawled off in that thing, caught about 15 smallies, some little guys, but had an absolute blast, man. So it's been a really good week, a much needed week. I've been going hard. Clay Connor from Xpress Boat said yesterday to me, he goes, do you ever take Luke time? He's like, do you ever just have some Luke? And I don't very often, man. Which I consider all this Luke time. I get my family gives me the time and lets me go chase all this craziness down. So that is Luke time. But I've had some quiet time, I guess, so to speak, here at the Xpress Boats Lake House. So very, very grateful this week. And And the reason this podcast is going to be different, it's going to be kind of a two-parter. I'm going to talk at the end of the show. We're going to talk with over at Lake Ouachita. We're going to set back up with the folks that are running the Arkansas Fish and Game Foundation and running this tournament. I think it's really cool, some of the work they're doing, that they're involved in, especially in this youth fishing movement. It's very, very cool. They've got an initiative going. But we're going to talk with them. But here in just a few minutes, I'm going to be joined by a guy, and I reached out to him a couple days ago, told him I was going to be in town. And y'all know I love to do the in-person interviews for sure. And he is a guy that I have long respected, and I'll call him a fishing hero of mine. He was everywhere in Bassmaster magazine as a kid when I was cutting my teeth, and I loved it, the way he fished. I loved his style. I loved his demeanor. He is an absolute legend to me in the sport, and so he's going to join me here in just a few minutes here at the house, and that is the one and only Stephen Browning. BPT Tour Pro now, Bass Pro Tour Pro, having a phenomenal year, over $1.6 million in career earnings, and he's going to sit right here at the bar and grill, and we're going to get down to the nitty gritty on some stuff. So I really I'm grateful for him joining us here in just a few minutes at the bar and grill. Got to say a quick thanks to all the sponsors that make this possible. Your favorite part of the show, I know. StarTron, Starbright, kicking ethanol in the teeth and your chainsaw and your weed eater. Do not pour this in your gas tank. Use StarTron. Don't be me. Don't leave your bottle at home. Shake your StarTron. Put it in the tank. It will take care of that ethanol that can gum up the works, ruin a great day on the water when that outboard engine don't crank. Don't leave it up to chance that ethanol is going to ruin your day. Use StarTron. We appreciate StarTron bringing you Low Budget live for many moons now. Great folks down there in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Pro Guide batteries. I had a great conversation with a guy at the registration yesterday about Pro Guide. It's amazing how many folks, especially in this region, run Pro Guide that are huge fans. The lithiums are getting nothing but rave reviews. The AGMs are as solid as anything you could ever expect to be a part of in your boat, I can assure you. And they're moving and shaking out there, man. You can check them out at ProGuideBatteries.com. Tell them I sent you. When you get ready to hit that buy button, use code LBL10. Let them know you're a low lifer. They got all kinds of stuff on there, chargers, batteries, lots of accessories. So very confident in pushing that product, that's for sure. Baitworks.com. Bait-works.com, your one-stop shop for all things online tackle, man. They've got, I saw they got a reload on those David Allen shuttlecock hair jigs. They sold like 250 of them in 2.5 seconds, I think, 2 weeks ago. But they just got reloaded. You can use code Duncan-10 to let them know you're a low lifer there. They've got those in stock right now. Of course, all your deep diving crankbait assortments from all the brands. Rapala, Strike King, Spro, 6 Sense. They got it all right there. They got spoons. It's that time of year. Most the country, those deep living mamas are out there waiting for you to slap them in the face with a crankbait. So they got it all on there. Check it out, baitworks.com. And last but not least, of course, cannot say enough, Xpress Boats, Hot Springs, Arkansas, the mothership. I'm here this week. I'm always reminded every time I get here why I am a part of this family, why I chose to work with these guys. I'm grateful that they chose to work with me. They built an amazing product, but they are great people, top to bottom, great people. And I can't thank them enough for their hospitality and for allowing me to be a part of a team. It's cool that they listen to the pro staff in changes to the boat and suggestions. They really do. They lean on that a lot, and it's a cool process to be a part of. And I'll promise you, if you haven't ridden in an Xpress, go take a ride in one if you can find one. They are more than popular these days. But go take a ride. It's not your granddaddy's aluminum boat. It's high performance, 250 horsepower Yamaha show, C-deck flooring, power poles, dude. Put you some Garmin's on there and get out on the lake in an X21. I promise you, you will absolutely love it. Xpress Boats, building excitement since 1966. 6. All right, I'm going to take just a quick pause. You guys will never know it because of the magic of editing, but I'm going to take a quick pause, get set up for Mr. Stephen Browning. All right, as promised, look, right here in the Xpress Bar and Grill. Got cameras everywhere. Stephen Browning, what's up, brother? Thank you so much. We had a podcast before the podcast a little bit. We were talking old times.
We did, yeah.
We did talking some tournaments, and I appreciate you doing this, man.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, man, welcome to Hot Springs.
This was something we talked about. This area is so rich in bass fishing history. You've had BFL All-Americans out on Hamilton. You've had the Forest Wood Cup there. You had the Forest Wood Cup at Ouachita. Ouachita and Hot Springs made Scott Suggs a millionaire bass fisherman. My buddy Brad Knight won $500,000. Scott Martin won $500,000. Brian Thrift won the last ever Forest Wood Cup. But Hot Springs and bass fishing go hand in hand. And so many, George Cochran's, we were talking Mike Worm. There's so many guys from this area.
Mark Davis,
Yes.
David Ashcraft, Ron Sheffield. You can go on and
Legends.
on and on. And, the thing about it is, growing up, I grew up in southeast Arkansas.
Okay.
Arkansas River, and the deal was everybody that was a true professional angler lived in Hot Springs at the time. So I was
Okay.
like, I have to figure out how to get to Hot Springs, Arkansas.
So this was Mecca for you.
This is it. This is it.
That's cool, because I was going to ask you that. That was something I had written down. When I was in my fandom, like as a kid, you were always that. Throwing that bandit crankbait, river ratting, spinnerbait. And I was like, dude, Stephen Browning is the man. Like you were one of my, I remember a tournament at the Red River, and I'm like, oh my gosh, reading the bass. Oh yeah, man. And I'm like, this guy.
30 years ago.
But that's why I was going to ask you, because Hot Springs is not river rat territory. So you did grow up on the Arkansas River.
Yeah, and the deal was, when I knew, my brother and I fished a lot of team tournaments back in the days, and the deal was I knew when we came to Hot Springs, I was donating money.
Really?
That's all it was. And you had Lake DeGray, you had Hamilton, and you had Ouachita. And we just donate money, get a few points, and go to the house. Fast forward a few years, and I decided to do this for a living. I knew I had to get over here and figure out how to catch them in lakes so I could go elsewhere to be able to catch them. And it was just, it was just one of those bucket list places in Arkansas I wanted to live.
And these lakes are not easy.
No, they're not.
Historically, the tournaments, of course, with the Forest Wood Cups, I always said they win at the worst time. It's August. But these lakes are not easy, and there are a lot of really, really, really good fishermen in these parts.
The big deal is these lakes are really, really good. Ouachita, Hamilton, DeGray. You're literally looking at probably December through about May. And then when this, like here in Hot Springs, 38,000 people, all right? Come June, like 100.
I was going to say, it multiplies. It's insane.
It is.
The Sonic here has a boat drive through, pull up, and I text my wife that today, and I said, Hot Springs has got it figured out. I'm a big Sonic. I've been 9 times I've been here, but I'm like, they got a place where you can pull your boat. That's when you know that it explodes in the summertime.
It explodes in the summertime. Yeah. It dang sure does. And it's just one of those deals. You learn to deal with it. Fishing just sucks around here during the summertime.
And it'll take over 20 pounds in the winter, I hear. But right now, you never know what it might take.
No.
Less than 12 pounds a lot of times.
That's the reason I don't fish here during the summertime.
You go up north. You're about to go up north.
Yep.
That is all of us should do that. I feel like, but if we all start migrating up there, it might get a little tougher to get 50 a day. You may only get 40.
We get rocks thrown at us if we migrate up there.
And I understand why, because I wouldn't want a bunch of rednecks up there catching smallmouth on a drop shot either.
Exactly right. That's exactly
It is nice going up there though. Some of those lakes, and it's just walleye fishermen everywhere. You go on like a Monday. You don't see a lot of bass boats. That's a rarity in the summer in the South.
I've got a 20-year-old that wants to do this.
Yes.
And that's what I tell him. I said, the deal is summer vacations need to be north. They just, because that's where you're going to eventually, to do this for a living, you're going to be having to fish up there. Your New Yorks, your Detroit, Michigan, all those lakes up there. Generally speaking, June to August. That's
when it's going to happen.
And then you just, you turn around and you migrate. So during his summer vacation, so to speak, he's going to start going, to other bodies of water up north. Oh, I know it. I know it. And I know what you guys are saying right now. Oh, it's spoiled little old.
No, that's not what I was going to say. Because I had this on my. I wanted to talk to you about Bo in particular. Just it's Father's Day weekend.
Right.
We're here, and I think it's amazing that he's following your footsteps. And I always do. It's like Laker Hal when I saw or Cal Lane. You see these guys I've seen running around since they were knee high to a grasshopper, and now they're following in their dad's footsteps. And I want to know, how does that conversation start? Because this is not an easy life.
No.
And you've been in this game for a very, very, very long time. You've seen ups and downs. You've seen the way sponsors, the volatility of it. You've seen change. Obviously, we all have. But is that ever anything that, I guess, for you thought, man, I hope he picks something else? Or was it something that the day he said, Dad, this is what I want to do, was it a proud moment for you?
He has literally been fishing competitively since he was like 6 years old. He could not wait to get into a bass club when he was 6 years old.
That's cool.
So Greg Hackney's nephew, Ralston Lusby, who lives here in Hot Springs, was a member of a bass club, back, it's 14 years ago. Well, Bo and Ralston fished a lot together. So Bo, he said, I want to go fish a tournament, at 6 years old.
Yeah.
I'm thinking he won like 7, 8 years old. He's winning tournaments against, teenagers and it's like, I knew it's just a drug that he's got. And here we go.
He's ate up.
He's eating up with it.
And I know that a guy that I spent a lot of time with, been fishing some team tournaments with this year, little Trey Swindle and Bo are buddies.
Right.
And Trace told me, he's like, now listen, he's something. He's going to be something to contend with.
And I'm not saying this as a father, but this sport, either you're all in, 90% in,
Yes.
80% in, or 70% in. If you're 70% in, you're not going to really do much. You 80%, you're going to hit one every once in a while. 90%, you'll be around for a little while. You have to be 100% in.
I say it on this show all the time. You have to be obsessed, and it has to be your life. If you look at the guys doing it at the top level and you think, oh, well, they're lucky, or, well, they had an opportunity. No, they're obsessed with it. And you and I talked before we went on just about I'm fishing the Bassmaster Opens, and you're like, man, if you're not putting in the time in those, and Stephen asked me how long I typically practice, and I told him, and it's my average practice time that I always had for FLW, and all the guys, the other 200, are putting in way more.
Yeah, you can't. It's hard to compete against somebody on a body of water that has more current experience than you do.
Current time,
Right
current
now,
pattern
this is what I
information.
said, you go and you practice 2-3 days. I'm gonna say, no, I'm not judging you.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure the first day and a half you're going back to old stuff that you used.
Or you're lost as last year's Easter egg if it's a new body of water.
It is.
Yeah.
So
you're just trying to find your way around. You know how that is on a new body of water. How does this lay out? I've heard through the grapevine they catch them in Waxahachie Creek. Where is that at? You go find it. Yeah. I mean, that's what you do. So no, you're dead on. And you have to be committed to, if you're going up the ladder, professional whatever the steps are, whatever league that you're trying to get to the top of, there are steps that you have to take.
Right.
And you got to be committed, because the teeth kicking ins are coming.
Promise.
The financial heartache is coming.
Promise.
and the sponsor volatility, all of it's happening. You've got to be. It is a long game, not a short game.
Yep, that is exactly right. And the thing about it is, you see, I've seen. I don't know, man. I've been doing this since '97 full time, so you guys can add the numbers up on that one. But I have seen some really, really great, talented fishermen that just couldn't make it out here because they weren't all in, and things. And and you hear this like, you got to get a break. You got to get, but sometimes you don't. I mean, that's not as important to me as being all in. I watch a lot of guys, Justin Lucas, Matt Lee, Jordan Lee, some of these younger guys that when I would leave a tournament, either having my butt kicked or having a good tournament, and I'm ready to get back home, those guys are hanging out till it's over with and staying an extra week and fish that body of water to number one, they're trying to figure out if they didn't have a good tournament, what did I do wrong?
What they miss, yeah.
Yeah. So the only way to know what you did wrong at that particular time is to get your butt back out there on the water. So while I'm driving home, can't wait to get home and get my easy chair, they're hanging out up there and spending 4 or 5 extra days learning what was going on at that particular time underneath those particular conditions and putting it in their
I was going to say, and they just file it away.
File it away.
And the next time it happens,
That's
they'll be
right.
like, oh, well, remember X, Y, and Z happened. I won't let that happen again.
You're running down there, you need one, you know you need one to make the cut. You're running back to weigh in. There's a place between where you are and the weigh in, and you go, remember that rock I caught one on at so-and-so? Stop, boom, bam, here you go. Instead of you packing your bags and going to the house, you get us to hang out for an extra day.
And I think a lot of that comes with age too, right? Because,
it does.
Because, I was going to say, because
promise.
either early A in your marriage or before you have kids, that's a lot easier to do.
It is.
Because for
absolutely.
me, when I would get through with an FLW, I would see guys, they would leave to go, and I had TH Marine, I had family, had lots of stuff going on. So whenever I got sent home, I just went straight home. And guys would leave and go pre-fish the next event. And I would see that, and I'm like, man, I'm not as all in as that guy. You know, I'm not, and I didn't care if it was the leading money, if it was Scott Martin, if it was Brian Thrift, they were going and doing that, and they were already established, and I was trying to get to that point, but it was so hard. But it is. But when I was 19, I think about, that's all I did, and I just went, like, you know, feather in the wind, like wherever I was going. Do you think that, or do you pre-fish now? This far into your career, because I'll say that about guys like Wheeler, Jordan. You see them all the time. They'll leave a BPT event, and then if the next one's not off limits, they're riding around there for 5 days. Is that something you do, or do you get back on?
No, you know that, and the only reason I say no and quickly say no is I've been literally every lake in this country at some point in time.
2 or 3 times at this point, I feel like.
Times, yeah. So it's all about, to me, you're not struggling with, you know, I need to go here, I need to go there.
What's it going to look like?
You know, the doc talk, so to speak. So it's a deal where when I show up, I pretty much, you can, and the other thing is this, you can do a lot of homework at home. You don't have to be on the water these days. Mm-hmm. So you can Google Earth it. You can, you know, everything. Google knows everything. I'm glad we don't compete against Google.
Except how to win Angler of the Year against Jacob Wheeler sometimes. Google, hey Google, how do I stop Jacob Wheeler?
Yeah, you can't. You can't.
He's a robot.
Can't. It's just like this week, you know, I noticed that he was up, he loaded up and went up.
I saw that.
And it's like, and it's almost a jealous type deal, but then again, it's
of course.
Like, you know,
it's also a sacrifice for him too,
is.
because he's a family man, just like the rest of us.
Absolutely.
And so you look at that and go, well, he's lucky, or look at him go, but it's a sacrifice.
Let me give you one right quick. So last year he won at Champlain, right? Mm-hmm. All right. So we were at the St. Lawrence at an event, and in the BPTs, you fish a day, you're off a day. You fish a day, you're off a day. Guess where he was?
Champlain.
Yeah.
I remember hearing that story.
So
Insane.
it's like, you know, it's a
3-hour drive from where you're from where you got 2.5. Yeah.
And he went over there and he practiced, whether if he practiced for 3 hours, 4 hours, 10 hours, whatever it was. The other thing was, you take somebody like him. So the first day of competition, I was in his group. First day of competition, the wind's going to blow. So while everybody else is out here going like, golly, man, this wind. You know what he's doing? He's putting him his trolling motor shaft that's longer than the one that he has on there at the time. So he can go out there in that wind. And so shame on us for not taking the necessary steps to be able to be as competitive against him. So
that's something I've learned from the younger anglers that I'm friends with, like Justin Atkins.
Right.
It's these little things that I go, man, I overlook that now.
Yeah.
What?
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's all these little advancements, whether it's technological or whatever, but just little things like Justin will say stuff, and I'm like, you're barely 30 years old.
Right.
You're not supposed to know that.
That's exactly
You're not supposed
right.
to know that, and I've
That
been
is
around this
exactly
forever.
right.
But it's just that he's like, oh, you don't do such and such?
Right.
I'm like,
what?
well, of course I do that. I'll never admit that. No. Of course, I've been doing that since you were in diapers. Don't worry about that.
Yeah,
Don't
no,
worry
we didn't have that when they were in
and then I go and Google what in the hell he was even
What is he doing? Hey, but that's the deal. People ask me all the time, what's the difference in, when I started and now? The only, true boats have changed a lot, and there's little gadgets and gadgets on the boats themselves. But in all honesty, electronics is really the only thing that's, because I still catching them on baits that I caught them on 50 years ago. No,
Except you didn't have a jackhammer. I would like to
exactly
point that
right.
out.
Yeah,
I would like to. I have to call a timeout on you on that.
But I still do. Old tubes, just jigs and spinner baits, and the same thing that we had 20, 30, 40 years ago. But the mapping and the forward facing and the 360s and I don't know however many other terms you want to say, that's spotlight.
Yes.
That's truly what has changed fishing over the last few years.
Efficiency. It's changed the efficiency of it and made us more dangerous.
Right.
Right. And the guys that have put all that together are the ones that you're seeing dominate more times than not.
So man, I get out there and I get to idling around, and I got the big graphs and I got everything. I don't even know what the hell I'm looking for. I hate to say it, but I don't.
I feel like that a lot of times when it's like, oh, this is one of those where everybody's going to be graphing for 3 days. At Toho in the Open this year, I felt like I rode around for a day and a half just because I was supposed to.
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I looking for out here in the middle of the lake? I mean,
it's like...
I want to be throwing a swim jig and
and, and the thing about it is having a 20-year-old, and he goes and fishes with Trey Swindle, and he gets at Gunnersville, and they go out and they graph. So he knows Trey's teaching Bo. Bo comes home and he teaches me. So I'm kind of getting it a little bit, but as far as really being good with electronics, man, I'm like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm gonna give myself maybe a 2.5.
But you never had to be though. Think about that.
That.
You are over 1.6 million in career earnings. Been at this forever. 5 wins. You've done it just by reading the water and by being this versatile. But like every time they put you in the situation that's a Stephen Browning situation, for years, especially on the bass side of things, you were going to be top 10.
Well,
I feel like it was automatic, dude.
Right.
Like they could say, oh, we're going here. And you'd be like, Browning will be in the top 10. Like he'll make a top 10.
And it's funny because when you look at a schedule at the beginning of the year, you pick out, 2 or 3.
Circle.
Yeah,
Yep.
you circle those 3 events. It's funny, the way the format is in the BPT, I can circle that event, but I can almost be willing to bet you one of those that I didn't circle would be the one that I make the top 10.
No kidding.
No kidding.
And now, what is that though? What?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a deal where, it's like everything counts, over 2 pounds. So it's not a deal where you're definitely not dialed into any one thing. Mm-hmm. You're just going fishing.
Getting bites.
So you're just going to trying to generate bites.
Interesting.
And it's like some of the ones that, I have struggled on Lake Champlain. Struggled. And you roll up there last year and make a top 10, and I'm like, that wasn't supposed to happen, was it? But it did. And the other thing is, when I break down my daily catches, the 5 fish limits that I catch, they're not that bad.
Yeah.
They're very
that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
So it's like, why haven't you been doing this for 40 years? It's like, it's just fishing. So I don't know. I get frustrated at myself a lot because I don't know electronics, and because in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking electronics is, you got to get better, because if you get better at that, you're going to be better, more competitive. And then again, it's like, no, let's go fishing.
We saw you in Texas this year, when you guys were out there, what was Palestine, right? Mm-hmm. And it's old school Stephen Brown, and you were hammering them. Especially the first day of that deal, it was epic what you put on the board.
Honestly, that was as old school fishing of a place that I've been in years. When I backed my boat in the water, it was like, this thing reminds me of the lower Arkansas River. It's not a river, but the flatness of everything and the little ditches that fed spawning areas, and I knew those fish would be spawning or getting ready to and everything.
So it just clicked
I
immediately.
mean, it clicked. And the funny thing about it, you hear this very, very seldomly. I had a place to myself. And it's like, it stood out like,
to you, just
I mean, it stood out to me. Yeah, I
to
guess.
you, it's like this
me,
is.
I was like,
this is easy. This is where they're going to be, and that's where they
it's
were.
like, that's it, man. That's that place right
Never
there.
had anybody else show
Never
up.
had anybody else.
Now, did you fish that every single day? Because I know
Every
you
day,
won.
yeah.
You won your round
Yep,
to make the
yep,
top
yep,
10.
yep.
So you got
And
to
went
skip
right
the
back.
knockout.
Right. And and the deal was that it was a 3-pound deal that last
That's
day.
right.
But on paper, I had beat everybody on paper as far as my biggest fish over 3 pounds. I had more than anybody, and it I'm not going to say I've been unlucky. I don't know what you want to call it, but I have been unfortunate to have Mother Nature throw me some, and you think, well, that's just an excuse or whatever. But I have had some of the weirdest things happen to me in the last 4 or 5 years that it's like, how does that happen? It's like Lake of the Ozarks this year. I guarantee I'm winning that tournament.
Really?
One, and the lake comes up 1.5 foot and gets, like chocolate and milk. And I'm like, why does it got to rain 3.5 inches the night before championship round? Now, granted, I find this run out, and this is luck, with 20 minutes to go. Water pouring out of a culvert, and I'm like, duh.
Here we go.
Roll over
Insert
there,
spinnerbait there.
And I go from, that's a jackhammer.
I was going to say, you don't throw spinnerbaits
I
anymore.
don't even know what's a spinnerbait. So, I go from 9th to 4th in 15 minutes. And I'm like, dang, why couldn't I found that earlier? But I'm telling you, I can give you 3 or 4 different classics. I could give you a long list of things that, why does it have to rain 3.5 inches before a particular day,
And it could be said, because I'm with you. I get it. Because I feel that at times, especially like my FLW career, I can think back on moments where I'm like, I was in the area where it was won,
Right.
and I finished 21st, but why didn't I get the 8-pound bite
That's
that
right.
so-and-so got that put them in the top 10 at Okeechobee, and I caught a 5,
Right.
but I didn't catch an 8, and you're like...
And you're 3 pounds behind.
And,
Why does that?
yeah, those kind of things, or the same thing. Well, I found them on this bank, but then the wind blew,
Right.
and
Right.
whatever. It's so I get that, but especially with the flooding situation, everybody woke up to the same thing, but it definitely impacted certain areas of the lake more than others.
It does, and it's. I guess what I'm crying because I haven't won. I feel like I should win more. But I just don't, and I don't know if I could ever put that piece of puzzle together.
Do you think it's harder to win in that format where they zero the weights and everything? Because look, and it's part of the game. I say it all the time. It is what it is. You know what you're signing up for.
Right.
But to have those first 2 days where you're just stomping on the gas, and then you got the break, and then everybody starts from zero, it does. This is not being negative. It sucks.
It does.
Sucks for you
I
because
think it does, yeah.
because you let off the gas on day 2 because you're like, well, I got it. But you could
Yeah.
just
Right.
stand on
Yeah.
it if you
Yeah.
if you had the opportunity to just put it away. And so it doesn't necessarily reward the guy that's hammering them all week.
I've never been a big fan of going back to zero.
Yes.
But I understand in our format where you're not fishing on the same days. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm competing only against a certain amount of guys.
I get that.
On one this day, and this day, and then if you succeed, so to bring everybody together. I understand why they go back to zero. Now, do I like it? No, not really.
no.
I don't like it. I never have.
Yeah. Going back to the old FLW days, that's
Right.
how it was.
Right.
And it became a game of you're trying to manage your fish, but you're trying to figure out, do you have enough? And they would go from, in those like late 90s, it was top 10, then top 5.
Top 5,
And they zeroed on both
right,
things. Everybody would fish, and they cut to 10, And I remember those just... The guy that would be catching them the first 2 days would never end up winning most of the time.
And and you see it a lot in our format on the BPT deal. The guy that a lot of times wins, he barely makes the cut to get into the knockout round.
Yep, because he didn't burn them.
Barely makes the cut to get into the top 8 round.
Yep.
And then next thing you know, things start clicking. So it's kind of like he's fishing the moment instead of fishing, 4, 5, 6, 7 days ago.
I always think it's interesting when you get a battle for first in those elimination rounds,
Right.
the first rounds, and the guys are really stepping on it.
Right.
Trying to make sure they
Right.
win, but
Right.
they're burning through them.
them
So
up.
I think it was
guarantee it.
Lucas and Coulter last year at Champlain, and they were like almost to 100 pounds, but they're just fish
Right.
catch, fish catch,
Right.
fish catch.
Right.
I'm like, hey, one of you boys going to have to concede
Yeah.
if you want to
Yeah.
win,
That's
because
exactly right.
and neither one of them end up winning
Right.
the
And
tournament.
win
Like
the
they just burn them.
Funny. Let's go back to Palestine. So Russ Lane, on the second day, I mean, I almost doubled the guy's weights from the first day.
Oh, wait, it
I'm
was
not
it
bragging,
was-
but
no,
I'm
it was-
telling you,
it was a beating.
It was a beat down.
It was a
So
beating.
how about this, man? So Russ Lane, all of a sudden, here he comes, day 2, and I'm like, my gosh, well, why are you burning? I mean, you're killing them, man. You're killing your fish. And then all of a sudden, it's like, crap, I've got to start catching.
I got to get a bite.
I got to get a bite. And then you start fishing faster, and the next thing you know, it's like, oh my gosh, man, I'm what's going on? I can't even generate a bite. And then you start getting bit, and then it's like, then I burn up 20 pounds, and a couple of good ones, and I'm like, golly, Russ, come on,
Come on, Russ. You knew coming in today you didn't have a
better
chance.
realize, I told him on camera that one day, I was like, okay, you want to do this?
Russ is a big old boy, but I know but you're Arkansas stout and mean. I know
I was
you.
like, you want to play this game? I'll play this game with you.
The only thing, I'm not arm wrestling Russ, and I'm not trying to hit a baseball that
No,
he throws.
no.
Not at all. Yeah, I remember that. You had to step on the gas
did.
late that day.
Yep.
And I always say, I'm fascinated with that because it's like, I always wonder what that mindset of the guy that's going out, that's leading going into that second day, knowing, especially with a big lead. But every now and then you start seeing people, they start chipping away at it. It really is impressive. Do you like knowing what everybody's got?
do.
Like, if
Absolutely.
you could have gone back 25 years
Absolutely.
in the 5 fish days, you would have
Absolutely.
liked to know.
Absolutely.
Because it affects your decisions.
Yep. You know what? That's what years and years and years ago. Earl Bentz told me one time. He goes, "You know what our sport's missing is a scoreboard." He said every sporting event that you can think of has a scoreboard, and he says
You're right.
bass fishing does not have a scoreboard, so you don't know. So there's always, am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing? Do I need to change the thing? And I think it has made me so much better and efficient on the water, because I know that if I'm doing something and I'm falling, what I'm doing, absolutely, I may be in the right area, but I'm
Gotta change up.
absolutely not throwing the right bait, or technique-wise and everything. You have to change up.
Do you get sucked into that? Oh, well, so-and-so is catching them, so that maybe means that this is going on?
I can promise you 9 times I did in the beginning. Because I mean,
It's just-
like you said, you have to be all in at this game, because if you're not all in on this game, you're missing out. So you have to know every guy. You have to know what he does and what he does good, because it helps you formulate a game plan.
Yeah.
But I can promise you, about 9 times out of 10, you wrong, dog. I mean,
He'll
you
throw you a
wrong.
curve. He'll throw you a curve a little bit.
Oh, so-and-so catching him. He got to be flipping grass. I mean, I know where the grass is, and I know that's what he's doing,
Yep.
Then you go back and look at it, it's like, what? A drop shot on
Throwing
the
a why was he throwing the spinning rod?
What's that?
I think, and as a fan and doing this, that's always, every time you look at a tournament stand, you're like, well, they're catching them like this. When you see it, and then I love being surprised though,
Yep.
because you are more times than not, because guys are having to elevate their game. I mean, we saw, and I gave him a hard time on the show about it, but we saw Greg Hackney with a spinning rod at the St. Johns River last
Right.
year. And he said on here, he goes, you can make fun of it all you want, people out there listening, that I put down the meat stick, but if you're going to compete in multi-day events, you better own you a couple spinning rods. And that's something that you definitely, I remember an elite on Okeechobee,
Oh, yeah.
and it got slicked off. And I remember, because I may or may not have used what you did that day on Pickwick a few times, and when it just gets dead slick, and Gunnersville on the grass,
Right.
with that spinning rod.
And a little bitty weight on
little bitty weight.
a little worm, and go, This is funny because this last event, I told my son when I got off the water that day, I said, guess what I caught two scorables on today? and he went through a list of 400 baits, and I was like, wrong. Like on that forward-facing deal, you know, and you see a little dot, and you drop that, what, Demiki rig or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called, but, you know, you drop it straight down.
Yeah.
It wasn't a drop shot. I do catch an occasional drop shot. But it said, I guess it's Demiki rig. I don't know. So I dropped it down there, and I was like, look.
It looks like a fluke on a jig head.
That deal.
That's right, yeah.
And I'm like, so it caught me 2 on it. So you know what I did when I got back to the hotel that night? Hey, Z-Man, hey, can you do me a favor? I need 4,000 heads, and I need 400 bodies. And you know where they're going to be about 2 years from now?
In a bin in Hot Springs.
That's right.
I know how that goes.
Oh.
Did Bo think you had fallen and hit your head? You're like, Dad, are you
he
okay?
was like, dude, what was wrong?
What
gives?
What was wrong was Watts Bar.
Yeah,
We saw it with MPFL, and then you guys, I thought it'll get better for y'all. I really did think that the timing, I felt like the guys caught it in a funk, a lot of transition, but it was not better for y'all.
You know, and it's funny because, you know, that was one of those lakes that I thought was going to be a sleeper.
Yes.
And you know where I messed up on that lake? I messed up watching you on your live broadcast because those guys those guys.
We'll blame
were like,
Fat Cat and Bradley Holland.
I'm watching them catch them in grass and everything. I'm like, hey, that's all I need to see. I need to see me some grass because I know I can take my jackhammer and I can go to work on them. You know, that didn't work.
They caught a few during our event on it, but the Ryan Satterfield from Arkansas, he was second going to that final day, and he'd been blasting them in the grass.
Right.
Buddy, it dried up the last day, and I think we had maybe a couple guys the final day catch them, but in some grass. But it's weird. Brad Knight says about that lake, like they just haven't adapted to it. He says He said it on the show. He said, man, it's like they didn't grow up with it, so they just don't know what to do with it.
Supposed to be, you're not supposed to be there.
And a few have, which Brad did say he weighed some in our events. His home lake, it's the first time he's ever weighed a grass bass in his life. He top 10'd it, but he caught him on a speed worm winding like he does in Florida. He said, if you'd have ever told me when I was 13 years old, I'd be throwing a speed worm on Watts Bar Lake. So I was very disappointed with those two events. People in Spring City are fantastic.
Oh, absolutely.
But I like you when I circled that one on the schedule and told everybody, I'm like, I'm most excited about that for us and for you guys because I think it's going to expose a really cool fishery. Because I fished it with Strader a few times and it's a blast. Yeah. But for whatever reason this year they're having a hard time over there. The spring tournaments didn't take a lot of weight to win. It's just, I think it's John Murray's fault. Yeah, frankly.
Exactly. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, John Murray. He didn't know if he was coming or going or been there.
John hated that lake that week too.
I guarantee you. But there you go. It's one of those deals where he wasn't able to keep up with the fish, so to speak. He guides on there, so he can't go out there and do his guide trips and keep up with everything. So you don't fish a body of water for a month. I don't care if you guided there all your life. If you hadn't been on that body of water in a month, you're starting over.
Current information is very, 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 very important in bass fishing, man. Yep. So I got over here in my notes. This is when you Google Stephen Browning, y'all can do this. I don't know if you're familiar with the IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, but you have an IMDb page where actors are, but you do. It's like the third thing that pops up about Stephen Browning fishing, and it's from your television work. Where you did the Nat Geo show, where you did the Mississippi River, you get credit for Bass Tech.
How about that?
I remember that back in 2005. And if you youngsters watching this, I don't know if that still lives on YouTube somewhere. You and Chigger and Marty Stone and Gerald.
Swindle.
Bowman.
Skeet.
Skeet.
Chigger.
Chigger Brumlow.
Yep. Yeah, I think it is. I think it's still on some.
It's probably still out there. Yeah. Please go look that up. That was one of my favorite shows as a young man. I loved Bass Tech because there had never been anything like that, and it was short-lived. Unfortunately,
it was about is either a 2 or 3 year run there when ESPN owned Bass, and they gave us a big block on Saturday mornings, and trying to really get it going, and it was one of those deals that I'm not real sure ESPN knew what to do with
No.
a bunch of bass fishermen. They really didn't. So, after it changed hands and all that went away, it was a lot of fun, reminiscing back on there. And looky here at Lake of the Ozarks. I'm sitting there on the dock. I don't remember if it was a top 10 morning or the knockout round. I'm sitting on the dock. And guess who shows up?
Come on. If you say who you're about to say,
Chigger
come
shows
on,
up.
man.
But the only thing,
Got to get Chigger on the podcast.
But he wasn't in.
He wasn't in full Chigger mode.
No, he wasn't in full Chigger mode. He has grown up.
What's his name?
Marty DeShute.
Marty, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I actually met him because he worked for JM and he worked for
Right,
Bass.
yeah.
I met him at an elite event at Toledo Bend in the parking lot. He was walking through and I was like, I swear that's Chigger. I was like, this is after I started working for TH Free, and I ran over to him, and he's like, hey, man, I'm Marty. So no goofy teeth. He was.
Right. Let me give you a good Chigger moment one time. So we're doing a deal for Z-Man, and he was my camera guy, and it was me, Luke Clausen, and David Walker. We're having a challenge on Gunnersville. So we're out there doing it, and things aren't going real good, and it typical Chigger format. He goes, dude, you have got the biggest ear hair I've ever seen in my life. He goes, I can't. I'm dead serious. So let me tell you something. If I'm 56 years old and I get ear hairs,
they're coming.
but they're gone. Dude, I'm telling you right now, that has been like since he told me that, it's like, that has been like my worst nightmare. To be on camera and have this hair sticking out of my ear, dude.
I said to my wife last weekend, I don't know what the hell's happened to me, but I got blonde ear hairs everywhere, and every time I look in the mirror, it don't matter. You could take shears to them, a bush hog, it don't matter. They coming with the thunder. Now I'm so paranoid about it.
Now, I'm telling you, it is horrible.
She was texting me about it yesterday. Give me a hard time. Make sure your ear hairs are good for your appearance.
I'm telling you. Oh, it's like, oh gosh, is this what you do when you get old? I'm like, oh man.
Shout out to Chigger for that.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm telling you right now, I mean, that's like my worst nightmares to actually have a camera rolling and this big hair sticking out of my ear.
My gosh, yeah.
So
I'm vain enough to be like, yeah, that would mortify me. We were at ICAST one time, and Andy Morgan's going to kill me for this story, but I got to tell it, and Strader may kill me too. But Typhoon sunglasses were around, back a few years ago. And we were at ICAST, and they had this big column wrapped with Andy's picture, and he's standing there like this, the typical wearing your jersey pose that we all have to do one time or another. And he's like this, and it's a side profile. And he had so many ear hairs sticking out, and Strader goes, would you look at that right there? He said, that dumbass don't even know he needs to trim his ear hair. I've got to get on him. Look at this. And he's like filming it on his phone and texting Andy. So wait till Andy sees that.
Yeah.
He'll like it. But Wesley goes, you got to be taking care of yourself. And from that moment on, I was like, oh, gosh, I got to pay attention.
That's exactly right. Oh, so little things in life that.
Life lessons with people named Wesley Strader and Chigger Rumbelow.
Oh, my God.
I remember and I still go back and watch this on YouTube because you can find it. If you've never seen any of the Chigger stuff that he did with bass, it was really funny. But when he y'all were at Murray, and they put him in that boat called the Brumbelow, and he had two strippers in the back before takeoff, and Seigo Sato as a Japanese Elvis. He's like, everybody loves Japanese Elvis and dancing girls at takeoff, and he was idling through everybody at blast off. I'm like, make bass fishing fun again, guys. Like that was.
Hey, man.
That was amazing.
The other one is this that I love, and I still go back and watch them, and I'm crying right now, man. And I'll cry.
So funny.
I mean, it is. You go back and watch the one where he's fishing off the front end of that.
Yes, pulls up on. He goes, Clun's over there on my spot.
But he gets one. It's like he's got one on a Zepco 33. He goes, oh, it's a big one. It's a big one. It's a big one. And he just wrestles and wrestles and wrestles, and finally he goes, okay, he's resting. I'm resting. Okay. All right, I've got it. Oh, my God.
That was at Clark's Hill.
Yeah.
And it was like the top 5 day or whatever, and they're having a very serious bass tournament, and he's out there in a fountain running around, but it was just the seriousness of, I think Clun's about to pull up over my other house. Like, it was just so, the timing of it, but the interview they did with him at that Lake Murray thing, he's sitting in a lawn chair, and he goes, well, when Bass decided they were coming to Lake Murray, this is Davey and I's home lake. It's just the way he worded stuff. This is Davey and I's home lake, so we thought we'd throw them a party. It's just amazing. Does he live up there now? Is he in
no,
that part of the world?
He's at Lake of the Ozarks. Now.
Okay, so he's up there.
He was
Okay.
at
It was Little Rock based,
yeah,
right?
but then he moved out to either Lake Murray or one of those lakes out there, and then he's back up in
Okay.
the Ozarks. Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's man, that's good memories there. I saw that this morning. And I was like, got to ask you about that. Now, for those that don't know, to me, this is the most epic thing you've ever done. Was that Mississippi River Challenge show where you guys started in the headwaters, and it was an elimination type deal, right?
no,
Or was it just a journey? I can't remember the whole. I watched
a journey
it, but
down the Mississippi River. Myself and two guys from California. Yeah, put that in a boat and you can go down the Mississippi River with that one. Literally, man, you could go up on the headwaters of the Mississippi and literally step across it, and then we went all the way down to where the Mississippi dumped out
to Venice.
Gulf. Yeah, and funny thing about that whole trip, the thing that I remember the most, the producer, a good friend of mine who's passed away not too long ago, Tim Schick. Tim meets us in St. Paul, Minneapolis, and he goes, okay, and they bring this Bass Pro Shop had given us this big cabin pontoon boat, to make the trip down the Mississippi River. Now we have destroyed a jet boat going in another little 400 miles of it, and anyway, we get in this pontoon boat, big cabin cruiser type deal, and he's got it mapped out. I mean, it's a production.
Of course.
The longer you're out there,
And a complicated production at that.
The more you're out there, the costlier it gets. Blah blah blah. So he goes, okay, man. They say this boat will go, 21 to 24 miles an hour. So what do you think? Let's go out here and let's run it right quick. Let's get used to it and whatever. We run out there wide open, dude, 13 miles an hour. Now, I want you guys to do math on this. 2,100 miles, 13 miles an hour compared to 22 miles an hour. It's almost like we added like an amazing amount of days of production because we weren't moving very fast. And, it was, and we went, they had insurance on that barge. It was a good thing because, it got to the point where then we ran into some flood waters and it was an awesome
And the Mississippi's really rough.
Yes,
it's a rough body.
Oh,
it's an angry old river more times than not.
Yep. We get to Natchez, Mississippi, and we pull over to get gas. And we've got these jugs, and we actually pull over, run across the street and get gas and everything. And these two black men are sitting on the bank, and they were like looking at us like we the craziest bunch of people ever. He goes, I can remember it till this day. He goes, man, that Mississippi, she's mean. She actually took two of his buddies, had drowned out
Unreal.
there just that summer, had taken them both. And he was like, y'all crazy. And it was up and rolling, man. And I remember him. And people don't think about it. But river systems and these lakes that we're on, it's not an easy gig out there, man.
No.
There's been people that have been messed up pretty severely.
We saw it. Mother Nature rules all, right? Like she's like you said, she's ruined tournaments. But we saw it this week, Yellowstone Park. You think about all that in Montana, 500-year flood.
Right. Yeah.
Water is not to be messed with.
No,
it is just not.
at all.
It takes too many people from us every year
I
because
mean,
people don't respect it enough.
No.
But that river in particular, I remember some FLWs and things around Memphis, people
Yes.
ripping motors off of transoms and just insanity with the current against the wind against the
Hey,
current.
how about the old days in the FLWs when we used to go over there and guys would literally, now back in the day, about 30 to 40 gallons max on bass boats, they would have that much strapped down
on the back deck.
on the back deck. And it's like, oh my gosh.
The rules were changed very
Yes.
quickly after those, and,
Yes.
and they were hiding gas cans on the banks and stuff because I think Gary Klein, Davey Hott, they were running way down like to Tunica Lake or something.
Ferguson, I believe is what it was.
Yeah. And just insane runs.
And I, you know, but you sit and think about it, man. Those guys that did well in some of those events were outside the box thinkers.
Yep.
I mean, they knew that they could run. All right, so you strap another 30, 40 gallons on your boat. I'm gonna make time to go hide it in the woods where I can run faster.
Yep.
You know, I'm not toting another 500 pounds or whatever, however much it weighed. You know what I'm saying?
I can beat you down there.
I can beat you down there. I'm gonna get more fishing time, and you know, it's just Randy Blockett and Klein. We had a tournament on the Arkansas River one time, and they were running in Pine Bluff. They were locking through twice and going way up a body of water called Little Balamita and running way, way, way up it. And they were hiding gas cans out. So how about this? So I'm working for the state of Arkansas, wastewater treatment plant inspector, and I'm doing water samples off of this bridge. And I mean, only a handful of people even knew the bridge even existed. So I run over there and I'm taking my water samples off this bridge, and I look down, and there's gas tanks down there. and I'm like, what the crap is that? And I walk down there and I get them because I didn't, you know, obviously didn't want them to wash off in my stream that I was sampling, you know. So I get them. Some of them are full, some are, yeah. So I'm like, oh, they've ran above this bridge. You don't ever hear about anybody running above that bridge. You can put in at the bridge and go up there fishing. But I'm like, those dudes. So don't think when tournaments didn't come around, I started going up underneath that bridge. Now, granted, I didn't hide gas and do all that. It was, you know, when you didn't have to worry about toting that much gas. Yeah. But it was just like, you know.
What are the odds, though, of you seeing that, working your day job, and these
here
guys.
They are, yeah. So it you know, it's but outside the box thinkers. It goes right back to the we talked about it earlier. The young guys that stay longer, you know, and learn something, you know, while everybody else is going back home. You know, you got to be invested 100%. You can't do it.
You're not. It's not going to work out.
You're not going to work out
anymore.
I mean,
going back to that Mississippi journey real quick, just because I'm fascinated by production and all that. How many days total did that shoot last for y'all?
I think we were actually on the water 38 days.
Golly.
Yeah, and it was supposed to be like, you know, 20 and change. But it, so I'll break it down to you right quick. So we paddled 100 miles in 4 days. We got on this jet boat, a jet drive boat, and 400 miles of the river in a jet drive boat, which none of us had any experience in a jet drive motor. So we didn't realize you really needed to take care of that lower unit, you know. So we'd run over stuff, and then it wouldn't suck right, you know. And everything. So then we had to be so that was a couple of days, and then it was over 2,000 miles in the pontoon boat.
Now, did y'all stay in that pontoon all the time?
Oh yeah, stunk, man. We stunk, golly. And the big deal was we knew where we were going and destinations. I mean, and people make that trip a lot. I mean, so any given year, they say there's somewhere between 8 and 10 people that will actually do the whole river,
the entire trek,
trek in a single year. No, there's people that have done it. They'll do it in 1 year. I'll go these 400 miles next year.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there are people that have done it. But, you know, to do the whole thing in 38 days, that was, you know, it was pretty intense. And then we got up around St. Louis, and, the floodwaters came. And like you said, man, that Mississippi River, that's a beast. Yeah. And, production asked us one night, said, how do you feel about traveling at night? I mean, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I guess, you know. So we're cruising down the river one night, man, and I was driving the boat, and I hit something and didn't really think much of it, you know. So we go on down the river a little bit, and we pull off. We always would pull off behind a sandbar or something, you know. I mean, there wasn't any sandbars. Everything was flooded. But we would pull off and sleep. Well, when we woke up that morning, it wasn't flat. It was kind of had a little list to it, off on the side of it. And I'm like, what in the world? So we had to get that. We had a crew that was carrying a trailer the whole way down. We had to get them to put the boat on the trailer. We went and drilled holes in the aluminum to get the water out. And then JB Weld, I mean, they should literally. They should have been a sponsor of our. I mean, we used the JB Weld on that trip down there, and that was that. It was a. I learned a lot about JB Weld.
You learned a lot about yourself on that trip.
Learned a lot about myself.
That's what I was going to ask. I know mentally, even though it's a TV thing, but they're filming you going through this,
right,
and being away from your family, and I can imagine there were moments where you're like, what in the heck am I doing?
I want to say Tammy, and I know Tammy did. I don't remember if Bo was able to come with her. A couple of stops where we knew we were going to be at a destination for a couple of days, because it was kind of a history lesson too. We would stop and, show what went on in that region and stuff like that. And they were actually got to come out. So I did get to see them a couple of times during the trip, but it got long at the end.
I can imagine.
It really did. And
I'll never forget when that announcement came out that you were going to do that. And I'm like, Stephen Browning is an animal. But hey, you're the bow hunting. You're like, you are. I think you could make it out there. Have you ever thought about going on Naked and Afraid? I mean,
you know what? It's funny, man. So I'm at Bass Pro Shop here. We're doing the spring, the 50-year deal. Here a few months ago, and I sit beside Clun in a little seminar deal, and he goes, "Man, I think about you all the time." I was like, Rick Clun.
You're like, what? Wait a second. Yeah.
Don't think, yeah, boy, I'm puffed up now.
It's like he's fixing to ask me about chatterbaits.
Yeah. And then he goes, every time I see Naked and Afraid, I think about you. And I'm like, you jackwagon.
I didn't get that from Rick Clun. That was an original Luke Duncan thought.
That's
all. So I guess Clun and I are on the same wavelength. I can say that now.
Well, it was,
that's amazing.
Back in the early 2000s, I did the Wild Rules.
Yes.
Which was a survivor type deal, and I guess that kind of, and he was actually the one. So the deal was ESPN wanted a fisherman to be on that deal, so they invited Clun, and he had some scheduling conflicts. So Marty Stone, they asked him. Marty was smart enough to go, "Hey, what's the day rate?" The day rate was like $50, and then so he was like, "I'm out." Marty's all about the.
I was going to say Marty's financial guru.
He's like, "No, I'm out." And myself, I was too naive to even think about any of that kind of stuff.
TV,
Oh, yeah, heck, I'll go do it. So off we go to British Columbia, and this big game that you play, and it was like a survivor deal. But I don't watch any survivors anymore. I did at the time. I don't anymore, because I know for a fact they don't sit out there that long and not lose weight. I lost 20 pounds in 15 days.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I'm like, they're feeding them. I know they're feeding them.
They got a catering tent.
I'm like, they got
like, what's the staff? And they got a huge production crew on this remote island.
The greatest moment of that particular 15 days living out there, we had a production, and we had to get in a pontoon boat to go to the other side of the lake. So at the end of the day, it was raining nasty. You couldn't believe it. Cold. We grab up all of our belongings, so life jackets and your backpacks and everything, and we're just dead beat tired, and we go up to the top of the little hill that we had our makeshift camp in, and we dump everything out, and a brown paper bag shows up. Well, it's a productions person's lunch that they didn't eat. So we're like, oh crap, man. And the cameras are rolling the whole time. So we're shoving it up underneath. We're getting it up underneath, dude. We don't even know. It's like the mystery tackle box, I mean, we're like, oh gosh, don't show anybody, so we're running. So we get ready to go to bed, and luckily the camera guys are staying in the camp with us. They got their tent, and they're living in the cots and all that. We're sleeping on the ground. So we open this brown paper bag up, and it's got a peanut butter and banana sandwich in it. And there's 4 of us at the camp, and I mean, boom, boom. where it's like the greatest. I mean, it was like the greatest meal I've had in weeks.
That's what I always say: a peanut butter sandwich or peanut butter crackers on a boat. When you ain't got anything else, will taste like a filet mignon with the nicest steak. So I can imagine after being starved.
You couldn't believe what
Unbelievable.
Just to have a taste of anything. We ate wild onion soup for 3 or 4 days, and then it was a deal where I started catching a fish every once in a while. And I'm telling you, like a little small rainbow trout, and 4 or 5 of you in camp.
Don't last long.
I mean, it don't last long. Yeah. So we had fish soup for a few days. Yeah, one day I caught 2 fish. So we boiled one of them, and then we made a makeshift grill and made us one, and just pretty basically fried one on a rock and ate it that way. I mean, it was so nasty. So nasty, but that was a lot of fun.
But a cool experience. I mean,
it was a great experience.
What a life! I mean, what a life!
Yeah,
and
it was a great experience.
And now, you're nowhere near being done with this. That's what's cool. Is you've had this amazing career, but man, it's going so good this year. I mean, just on a roll. 13th right now.
You know, it's one of those deals, and I get asked this a lot: why I changed, why I left bass, and why I did. And it had nothing, absolutely zero, to do with any organization. It made no, I didn't even, that wasn't even in my formula of why I wanted to go. I just wanted a different challenge. To me, if you don't challenge yourself, then you're going to be the same person day in, day out. And I'm like, dang, man, that's a format that I have watched that I felt like I would fit in. And, it's like, I'm going to go try that. If you don't like it, you can always go back, And like I said, hindsight 2020, you get this thing about fear of missing out, whatever that.
FOMO, yeah, the kids say.
It was almost some of that. A little bit of that. It was like, golly, what if it's this?
All these guys that you've came up with are all like, hey, this is what we're doing. We're going here now.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be totally honest with you guys, and I'll be honest with you listeners too, man. I wasn't one of the original 80 that got invited. I was 81st. And that kind of pissed me off, man.
I get it. It pissed a lot of guys off.
I mean, it was like, am I not good enough to be over here with you guys? So that when they invited me, it was like, heck with them.
Yeah.
But then I was like, nah, maybe you want to, let's go. Let's go try it. And I'm glad I did. I mean, like you said, I've been successful at this format just because it kind of takes you back to your roots of fishing.
It's getting bites.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. The going out and fishing for 7 or 8 bites a day in an 8-hour tournament deal, that's just the most boring fishing that there is. It just is to me.
And some days that's the only bites you can get even in that format, right? But it is more realistic, I think, at times to what your normal weekend guy goes out there and does. He just catches what he catches.
You work your butt off all week. You guys are out there working your butt off out there. You cannot wait till Saturday morning. One of the greatest commercials ever was the one where the guy on the alarm clock.
Yep.
5 days a week. Snooze.
Yeah.
Snooze.
Yeah.
Snooze. When that thing goes off on Saturday morning, Jack, he's gone.
And that's a very true thing in life. It is.
It absolutely is. You don't go out there. You're not fishing for 5 or 6 bites on a Saturday or Sunday if you're given that day to fish. You want to go out there and catch every stinking one.
And most guys that go aren't going, well, with my best 5. We get caught up in that. We see that a lot because it's a standard.
What they do? This is what they do. They go, I caught 20.
Exactly.
Best one was about 6. You don't know that the other 19
might have been 10 inches.
Weigh a pound. Right. Yeah, but the best one was 6.
That's right.
You tell them about the big fish and you tell them how many. And let's go to the house.
That's a fact.
We had a great day of fishing.
That's right.
So,
and that's what it's about to me. I spoke at this high school deal, which is why I'm in town, as Commissioner's Cup, and spoke to the kids last night. And I get, just like you do, tons of messages from kids, whether they're high school, college, and even adults that are trying to get into it. Right. Man, I want sponsors, or man, I want this. And the number one thing that and I preach this to my kids is forget all that.
Yeah.
learn to bass fish and learn to catch fish. You know why? Because it's fun. Because you know what I would be doing, and I said this too many times on here, but without all this, I'd still be going bass fishing. Because I love it. I love it till the day I die. Like nothing will ever change that. Take the business side of it away, the pro tournaments, big tournaments. I could never fish another tournament again. And guess what? I'll still go wade fishing for smallmouth. I'll still go pond hopping. So I think that's where we lose sight of because of cardboard checks, the jerseys, the truck wrap. People get caught up in that, but man, the basis of it is still fun and catching bass.
That's right.
Like that's where it should be.
And I've you know, like earlier I mentioned, you know, it takes you back to your roots. This format does. You know, I don't understand how you get a child involved in fishing without him catching something.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if it's a bluegill, a crappie, a bass, a walleye, whatever it is. I promise you, you go out there and you go, okay, we're going to go fishing for 5 bites today. That young man or that young lady in the back of that boat, she's not going to be in that back of that boat very often.
No.
I mean, it's
got to
gonna
get
be
bit.
Like, that was boring.
Yeah, they got to get bit.
Yeah.
Got to get bit, get them interested. So one last thing, I've got to get you to your Arkansas Razorback baseball games.
Right.
Go Vols, even though we're terrible and we got put out.
No, y'all not terrible.
It's just,
I mean, you just had a couple of bad games.
Yeah, and that can happen. We've seen it already in the tournament. But Steven said, "Hey, I can do the podcast, but I got to be watching those. I got to be watching those Omahogs this afternoon." But I want to end on this because I think you've got a great perspective on this. And like I mentioned, I'm here for this Commissioner's Cup. Bo fished the very first one ever, but where are we as a sport right now? Do you think? Because we hear a lot of talk of growing the sport. And we got this youth movement, but to a veteran like you, where are we at, do you think, as a whole?
Honestly, as a whole, I fish for the same $100,000 first place prize that I did 25 years ago. Until we as a sport, a competitive sport, can fish for way more money.
Yes.
I'm sorry. We're just going to be what we are.
Yep.
That's just my personal opinion. I honestly think that if there was ever a chance that major tournament trails could fish for life-changing money, $100,000 25 years ago was life-changing money.
Yes.
$100,000 today is not life-changing money.
No.
You just pay a few extra bills off. And
you're going to pay your credit card debt off for your entry fees and gas prices right now.
If you were, and we were headed in the right direction with the FLW Cup, $1 million.
Yes.
Bass Classics, $500,000. That's not, they need to be, the championships need to be for $1 million.
Yep.
The day in, day out tournaments need to be anywhere from $250,000 to $300,000 day in, day out. If you were able to accomplish that in a tournament trail, I promise you, I'm just promise you, it would take it to another level. If you could ever get it bigger than that, the only reason golf is where it is because of the payout.
Yeah.
People love to see people win. And they love to see people lose. And when you got that kind of money on the line, they love to watch. I love watching golf. I absolutely suck at golf. I love to watch those guys that get in contention, the McElroys, the Dustin Johnsons, the Tigers in his heyday. I love to watch that guy close.
And that clutch moment.
Stephen Curry.
Yes.
Dude, let me tell you something. I watched him, and my wife's like, "You don't never watch." I said,
"I always watch the. I always watch.
Finals.
Yeah, I always watch.
This is the World Series. Yep. This is the Stanley
Peak
Cup
performance.
Yeah. I want to watch the guys that when they get on that platform, they close. From a competitor, it helps me know, dadgummit, man, when you get there, don't get caught up in the moment.
Yes.
Don't get caught up in the moment. Close. Wheeler.
It's inspiring. Yeah.
Wheeler, Van Dam, Jordan Lee. I mean, you can go, the Hackneys. You can go on and on and on. And there's a group that they say you don't want to be with in that top 10 day.
They're right.
They're right.
They're right.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
Because the odds of you winning, not very good.
Well, you look at just the BPT there at Watts Bar with Salzman winning. I mean, and no disrespect to him at all, but he had a wolf breathing down his neck, and by the skin of his teeth, and he pulled it off. But it's amazing to me that Jacob is right there and that Jordan's been right there, that so many, like you're saying, the guys that the Van Dam, the runs that Van Dam went on. Mark Davis was one back in the day. You didn't want to be running Mark down.
No.
At all. Klein, you didn't want to be running them down.
You could go back in history and look at some of these guys and look at the runs that they were on. And, man, it's just amazing. And that's just, again, you're all in. You're all in because you want to be able to, you want to be that guy one of these days when you put yourself in that position and, dadgummit, I want to win, and it's like, maybe you got a chip on your shoulder because you haven't won or whatever, and people don't think you can or whatever that may be. That's the only reason that I watch it golf. I watch the NBA Finals. I watch these championship deals where the cream of the crop rises.
You watch them turn it up.
And turn it up. And, that, and it's like, we talked about that, Tennessee and Arkansas. Tennessee was right there all year long, but there was 2 games where they didn't turn it up. Didn't turn it up. I don't, for whatever reason. Whatever reason it was, they didn't turn it up. Arkansas had been ranked in the top 5 all year long. All of a sudden, they get to the last 10 ball games and they lose 7 of them.
Fall apart.
And it's like, what the crap? But now they're turning it up just a little bit. Whether or not they're going to turn it up today, I don't know.
Against Stanford, we'll see.
Yeah, but I'm on watch. I'm on watch, and there will be one team that turns it up.
No doubt about it.
It's
College World Series is fun to watch,
It is
man.
fun to watch.
And I'll be just completely honest, not to be a bandwagon fan. I've been a Tennessee fan my whole life, but our baseball program has just been really relevant in the last 2 or 3 years.
Right.
And so I've paid more attention to college baseball than I ever have. Now, you guys out here, college baseball, I mean, Arkansas, they're the Omahogs for a reason.
Right.
Like, they go Dave Van Horn, fantastic coach, but my kids are really into college baseball right now, too, and it's been so fun. The SEC championship, the tournament is in Hoover, Alabama. It's 2.5 hours from the house. So we've gone the last 2 years to the tournament. And it's just college baseball.
Yeah,
like if you don't watch it and you're any kind of baseball fan, you're missing out because it is
really
fantastic. It's just the same as college basketball and college football.
Is.
It is.
I love college sports. I really do.
So much fun to watch.
And then you got college fishing. And it's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, my son's, he is actually changing schools, going to Montevallo.
I was told that this week.
So it's
be down our way.
It's one of those deals where I've watched them and I'm like, golly, man, these kids are so freaking good, man. I mean, they really are. And it's sometimes you may call it a fluke that one team wins or whatever, but 9 times out of 10, it's not that.
You see the same names. You see the same names. Like you said, the cream rises. Like the Logan Parks, Tucker Smith kids. Man, those kids are. They're not going. Good. They're not going anywhere.
I mean, they're
not going
good.
anywhere.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Before we leave, if I don't do this, my wife is going to hang me. So I know you guys are. Hey, and I will say this, and this is a little bit different subject, but we talked about this a little bit, touch base on it just a little bit earlier today, is watching guys come and go.
Yeah.
Have really good talent. And without a doubt, I mean, I know you've got a big family, I've got a small family, but the support that you get from your family is bar none the number one thing that huge. I mean, beyond huge. It far outweighs the support you get from sponsors and everything because, I mean, that's family. Now, granted, your sponsors are family as well. But without my wife doing what she does for a living, she's a real estate agent here in town, and I mean, she kills it. And because she works 7 days a week.
Never stops.
Disciplined way more than I ever have been. And that's a fact. I'm not saying this just because I want to throw this out there, but she has motivated me to put a little extra effort into what I'm trying to do for a living because I know that I've got a 20-year-old. I won't say that he's coming up in my footsteps. I think he's making his own, so to speak. And I just, without that support at home, it's so hard to make it at this game. I mean,
at anything.
At anything.
But especially with the road travel involved, the sacrifices it does take to be a part of this. It's so big, man.
It really is. And like I said, sponsors are awesome, and they're great. And I have one of the things that I've always done, I never chased the dollar, so to speak. I've always chased relationships. And I have sponsors I've been working with for 20 plus years. And I'm not gonna lie, they don't pay me that well, but just I hate to go.
You're not going to be one of the guys that jumps for another pack of worms kind of guy. So that's always my joke is, hey, you give me 2 packs of trick worms, I'm going to come over here.
I may come over here and do it.
We see that too, and we see it with young guys a lot too.
Yeah.
You lose credibility, especially in this social media world. You can't tell me last year that a Blazer bass boat was the best, or a Ranger, or a Phoenix, or a Triton, or whatever. You can't tell me it was best, and now go, guys, I now found the greatest bass boat of all time. Well, for 6 years, you've told me that was the best bass.
So
it's tricky, man. It's tricky.
I've got to throw somebody under the bus.
I love it. Let's go.
I just have to. It's when you watch people. He wears a T on his head. So for years and years and years and years, Bill Dance and Strand Fishing Line.
Hand in hand.
Hand in hand.
Yeah,
That's all you ever thought.
Blue strand, baby. That's all you needed in
all
life.
you need.
Fluorescent blue.
And then all of a sudden, I see him fishing something else, and it's because, and I'm like, no, wait a minute.
It's a timeout.
What's wrong with the strand?
I got a garage full of strand. Some of it's kind of brittle. It's been out there a long time.
And I'm not. I shouldn't even have said that, but I just.
That is it's a critical part of the business, but it's also an unfortunate part because it's like, wait a second, hey, and you see it whether it's you see that NASCAR guy changes up the car that he's driven. You see it in all kind of sport. Tiger Woods goes away from Nike, or Tiger. People are like, whoa.
Yeah.
Tennis shoes, whatever. Yeah.
Golf clubs. He went to TaylorMade. Now these are the greatest.
That's right.
It's just it is, and it's as I will say this to any youngster that's listening to this. Make sure that if you do change brands, you're changing for the right reason, and not the wrong reason.
Not just a checkbook.
Not just a checkbook. It needs that, whatever that product may be, whether if it's fishing line, reel rod, baits, whatever. If it doesn't make you better, trust me, it's not worth it. Absolutely.
Credibility is everything, and then I would say, I always try to focus on something that I can hang my hat on as well, promotionally.
Right.
I'm not just doing it because you hand me $5.
Right.
It better be something that I actually like. And I've
Absolutely.
told everybody I've ever worked with, they're like, hey, we'd like to do this. Okay. Well, I want to know how you do your business. I want to know because like I use Baitworks for an example that sponsored this show. Did my due diligence on them. They reached out to me.
Right.
Sounded great, but I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna investigate the deal a little bit. Then I went to their facility before we ever really did anything.
Right.
I'm like, you know what? I don't care to send people to y'all because y'all got it going on, and man, and I hear great things about them from people that listen to this show that shop with them, and that's great for me. Like that makes
pretty cool little
yes,
operation.
it is. They got it going.
I
They got it going on up there.
I know some of those folks up there.
They got it going on a little bit. But Stephen Browning, I appreciate you, buddy.
I appreciate it. I hope we didn't talk too long. I don't know how long.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Hey, when you're the host, you're the one that edits it, you're the one that does it. It don't even matter. Nice. These episodes can be from 30 minutes to 2.5 hours. Right. It don't matter.
Good.
The longer the better for me, man. I really appreciate you. Thank y'all for listening. Part 2 coming up. Well, in typical LBL fashion, I promised a part 2 to this with the folks that run the Arkansas Game and Fish Foundation Commissioner's Cup. But we got down there yesterday afternoon. It was total chaos, weigh-in going on, and not really a good place to do a podcast. So I decided just to close this episode out. We're going to try to get those guys on here in the next couple weeks because they're doing amazing things. Deke Whitbeck, Jack Whitbeck, the whole crew there from the Arkansas Fish and Game and the Fish and Game Foundation. I appreciate them having me. Xpress Boats. It was a great event. I got to watch yesterday. It was so cool, and I put it on my Instagram story. But they had a senior division and then the junior division, which is junior high and below. And the two little boys that finished second in the junior division were in the second and third grade, man. Second and third graders. Absolutely made me smile on a Father's Day weekend, to say the least. But they said they started fishing tournaments last year. I got to interview them, and it was just so funny. They're like, catching them on a ledge, on a red bug, trick worm on a Carolina rig. They knew their pattern notes. It was really, really fun. But the initiative behind that, Arkansas Game and Fish Foundation, the Commissioner's Cup, to get kids in the outdoors, to get them away from, video games as much, even though sometimes on bass boats it looks like a video game with all of our electronics. But it's a really cool initiative. Great people doing great things, and I was very proud to be a part of it. So thanks to them for having me, for being such a welcoming host, and then to Xpress for trusting me to represent them at that event. So very cool weekend, and thanks to Stephen Browning. Holy crap. I hope y'all enjoyed that as much as I did. He is a top-notch individual in this sport, and what an amazing conversation with him there. All right, I'm going to take you out. It's Father's Day. Be sure to hug your mom. Be sure to hug your dad. But I'm going to take you out a little different this week. And I know some of y'all listen to the music that I put out there, and I've been writing a lot of new songs. But this is one. I will say this. If you got 3 to 4 minutes, that's how long this song is. But I recorded this. This is just a cell phone recording from last Father's Day weekend. And I wrote this song. I was sitting out by my pool, sitting on the back deck late one night, and I thought of this, like what I would say to my kids, like a letter to my kids. And that's what this song is. And it means a lot to me. But this is a rough recording. You can hear me like stop, and I'm reading the lyrics. This was the first shot out of the cannon after I wrote this song. But I'm going to take you out with this today for Father's Day. I know this is Monday after Father's Day, but check this out. Let me know what you think. We're going to get back in the studio hopefully this fall and record some new music. But this is just kind of, I don't even have a title for this song. This is a letter to my kids, essentially, and it's a rough recording, so don't judge me too harshly. But if you're still hanging with us, check it out. Enjoy it. I will see y'all next week.
Do what you say, don't say what you do. Don't think to blame for things that ain't true. Don't spend it all in one place. A short fuse will blow up in your face. A short fuse will blow up in your face. Never forget to hold her hand. Silence is better than a rambling man. Do your best to stay in your lane. And whiskey won't fix a heart that aches. Whiskey won't cure a heart that aches. These are a few things to know. As you ramble on down the road, don't rush the moment to get to the next. There's worse things in life than a wife or an ex. Most of the time you don't get what you deserve. Always stick to your word. Always stand by your words. These are a few things to know. As you ramble on down the road, well, most bartenders ain't your friend. Don't throw away love over a winning hand. Always sing at the top of your lungs. Fake it till you make it, it'll come. Fake it till you make it, it will come. These are few things to know. As you ramble on down this road. Do what you say, don't say what you do. There's only one love in this life that's true. Mama's rule with a steady hand. The best gift in life is being a dad. The best gift in life is being a dad. These are a few things.
Yeah.
That was
Hey,
awesome.
tell them, say like and subscribe, baby.
Like and subscribe.
As you ramble on down this road.